If you're reading this, you're no doubt asking yourself, why did this have to happen? The simple truth is that it's complicated and has been coming for a long time. The writing process, he goes on to say, started many months ago, was intended to be therapy in the face of looming realization that there isn't enough therapy in the world that can fix what is really broken. He had a lot of problems with the IRS. He was having money problems. He didn't work for a long time. The stresses were mounting, and eventually he took matters in his own hand. Later in this ranting, he writes this. Second full screen now, please. Sadly, starting in the early ages, we in this country have been brainwashed to believe that in return for our dedication and service, our government stands for justice for all. We're further brainwashed to believe that there is freedom in this place and that we should be ready to lay our lives down for noble principles represented by the Founding Fathers. Remember, one of these was no taxation without representation. So clearly he's taken, I don't know, the fact that he didn't vote for somebody or something into believing that he's not represented. It's a representative thing we got going on here. Third one that I thought was interesting, there are two interpretations for every law, he says. One for the very rich and one for the rest of us. Oh, and the monsters are the very ones making and enforcing the laws. The Inquisition is still alive and well today in this country. That little lesson in patriotism cost me $40,000 plus 10 years of my life and set my retirement plans back to zero. It made me realize for the first time that I live in a country with an ideology that's based on a total and complete lie. It also made me realize not only how naive I've been, but also the incredible stupidity of the American public, that they buy hook, line, and sinker the crap about their freedom, and that they continue to do so with eyes closed in the face of overwhelming evidence and all that keeps happening in front of them. Well, I mean, let's finish it off with the very end of this thing, and it's just the last few lines, and he summed it up in this way. Sadly, though, I spent my entire life trying to believe it wasn't so, but violence is not only the violence not only is the answer, it is the only answer. The cruel joke is that the really big chunks of stuff at the top have known this all along and have been laughing at and using this awareness against fools like me all along. I saw it written once that the definition of insanity is repeating the same process over and over and expecting the outcome to suddenly be different. I'm finally ready to stop this insanity. Well, Mr. Big Brother IRS man, let's try something different. Take my pound of flesh and sleep well. And then he puts at the end, in bold, not our bold, but his bold, the Communist Creed. Do we have that? Guess not. Well, it says the Communist Creed first, from each according to his ability, to each according to his need. The Capitalist Creed, from each according to his gullibility, to each according to his greed. And then he signs it, just as we did there, Joe Stack, born 1956, died 2010, and dated this 2/18/2010. Now a little context and perspective on these kinds of incidents and how often they happen. Our senior correspondent Brian Wilson's been looking into that. He's live in our D.C. newsroom now. Brian, some interesting finds here.
Yes, there are. Shep, a number of attacks over the years against government offices or government buildings. The most notable, of course, April 19th, 1995, the attack against the Murrah Federal Building by Timothy McVeigh with assistance from Terry Nichols. 168 people died in that bomb blast. Ammonia nitrate and fuel oil inside a rental truck ripped through the building. McVeigh was executed for that attack. There have been copycat attempts, something like what McVeigh tried to pull off. September 2004, a guy named Gail William Nettles was arrested after trying to purchase a half-ton of ammonia nitrate from an undercover agent. He wanted to blow up the Dirksen Federal Building in Chicago. He was convicted a year later. As for planes, Frank Eugene Corder, 38 years old, a student pilot with a history of alcohol and drug abuse, tried to crash a single-engine Cessna into the White House in 1994. He died in the crash. He came up just a few feet short of actually hitting the building. The plane was stolen from Baltimore and was quite embarrassing to the Federal Aviation Authorities and to the Secret Service. You know, it wasn't a government building, but you'll remember in 2002, a 15-year-old boy crashed a Cessna into a Tampa office building after leaving a note that indicated he supported Osama bin Laden and that the act was deliberate. His name was Charles J. Bishop. He plowed his stolen plane into a 42-story Bank of America Plaza building. Now, of course, Shep, you have to think about 9/11 at times like this. It was an intentional terrorist attack, and there were indeed federal offices in the Twin Towers. The Pentagon is a federal building. 187 people died on the scene of that attack as a 757 plowed into one side of that building at some 345 miles an hour. Shep?
Brian Wilson live in Washington. Brian, thanks very much. This has just come to me from the Fox News Brain Room, which is the research and the research arm of our building here, people whom you never see, but they do incredible research for us, and they've scoured they scoured the web, and they've found a posting from this particular man, and the Brain Room confirms it is from him, posted at the New York Times website. In this rant that he posted online, he talked over and over about the UAW, United Auto Workers. He doesn't like them, or didn't before he died in flames today in that building. But here's a message that he sent to the New York Times, and I'm quoting. "I'm really tired of the UAW, or United Auto Workers, demanding that we taxpayers finance their well-being. They enjoy benefits that the rest of us Americans do not have. Therefore, no more money to GM and Chrysler. Let them go through bankruptcy. If they are as wonderful as they think they are, they will survive, and if not, that's their problem." Add these comments to the news today about Citigroup giving 1,900 employees a check for $5,000 because the spoiled brats couldn't go to the Bahamas. Enough is enough. And signed it, Joseph Stack. I believe that is from, well, March 9th of 2009 is what this appears to be from the database blogs of the New York Times from 3/9/09. Joseph Stack, dead today in Austin, Texas. Continuing coverage in a moment.